Alright, so to prepare for The Devil Made Me Do It, Conjuring 3, I decided to go back and revisit part 1 and 2 of the Conjuring movies, now a Conjuring universe, kind of like Marvel and stuff. Yeah, I really like these movies. These movies are both great. It's hard to pick which one's my favorite because I think 1 and 2, they're both like damn near flawless. They're terrific modern day haunted house possession movies that are just phenomenal. So James Wan being the director helps because he's fantastic. Saw, Insidious, now Aquaman. And so yeah, let's just get right into it. Part 1, The Conjuring. This is one that I saw at the theater back in 2013. And the one thing I remember about it is, this is one of the only movies I remember in my life giving me goosebumps when I watched it. I remember being in the theater and just the whole opening with like Annabelle, because I have like a fear of dolls, at least growing up. Not now, but they still kind of creep me out. But the whole Annabelle stuff in the opening, that really creeped me out. I just remember getting goosebumps. And another thing I remember about this movie is the girlfriend I was with at the time damn near breaking my hand because she was holding it the whole time, and every time something scary was about to happen, she would squeeze and hold on for dear life. My hand was sore by the end of this movie because it's intense, it's terrifying. It's honestly one of the most horrifying, like, haunted house possession movies of our time, of the 2000s and 2010s. This is more like a throwback to 70s horror and possession movies. It takes place in the 70s. It's got that kind of 70s vibe and look to it. And interesting, this movie is rated R despite it really not having like, it doesn't have gore and a lot of swearing. There's not like on-screen violence really. You just see ghosts doing disturbing stuff and just creepy imagery, but there's not like a whole lot of swearing. There's no sex or nudity. This could have been PG-13, but I guess it was just too intense that they made it rated R. Jumping into the things I like about this movie, Ed and Lorraine Warren, the characters and the actors portraying them, I think, are phenomenal. I don't know anything about the real Ed and Lorraine Warren. I'm not going to talk about all that stuff. I don't know anything about them. I don't know who they were in real life. I don't even care. Who they are in this movie and the next movie are great. I like these characters, and I love the performances by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. They're just phenomenal. I love them. They just have such a great chemistry together, and I love their chemistry in bond with the families that they help in both movies. I love that they treat their, customers really. I mean, I think they're getting paid, their customers, or I think maybe they're just doing it just to help out good Christians and all, but it seems like a job. I'm assuming they're getting paid for it, but we never actually see them get paid for it, so maybe they're not. I don't know, but they're just doing it out of the kindness of their heart or whatever, but they treat their quote-unquote customers or whatever like family. They're taking care of their car, they're fixing their car, they treat their kids like their kids, and I just love that. I just love the bond, the chemistry between all these characters, and even just, the family, when they're first set up, they feel like a real family on screen. It's engaging, you care and you sympathize for this family and the mother, and therefore you're on board, and it's extra terrifying seeing this family fall apart from the seams. James Wan is a terrific director, and this is another example of him and his awesome direction here. Lots of good scare sequences and setups. You think there's a scare here, but then there's really not. It's not like the scares and jump scares where you can count the seconds down, 3, 2, 1, here it comes. It's not like that at all. There's a lot of good scare sequences in here, some that actually kind of made me jump. And you just got really good cinematography. They use a lot of shadows. They do that in part 2. And it's just, I love that because there's so many times in this movie where I thought I was seeing things that weren't even there. They just use a lot of shadows in the corners, the way they light scenes. It just makes it extra spooky and eerie, and you think you see something in the shadows, in the darkness, but there's really nothing there. It's just your imagination, and I love that stuff. The score, when it's more horror and not like uplifting, is very insidious and just gets under your skin. And so I like the soundtrack and score overall. You got some 70s soundtrack in here. They really capture the feel and look of the 70s pretty well. I like the comic relief character, the cop, because it's not too much like comedy. It kind of breaks up the tension a bit towards the end. They think that there's a ghost around the corner, but really it's just a cop coming out of the bathroom. He's like, what did I do? And I just like the cop character. It's not too much comedy in here. It's just the perfect amount. And So yeah, it's just relentless terror also. Like when things get going, it just never really seems to pump the brakes. It's just scare sequence after scare sequence. It just never lets up. Just tons of chaos happening to like each of these family members. They each kind of have something going on with them. Each have an encounter with a specific like ghost, the thing on top of the cabinet or whatever, and the creepy ass tree out back. Like this tree is creepier than the tree in Poltergeist. The only couple of things I will dislike about it, that I'll nitpick here, is I don't care for CGI, especially when it's not needed. Like I could see it being needed in a couple of small moments and whatnot, but there's like I think CGI blood at one moment. Like I think when she's puking blood, it didn't look real. Maybe it was real, but the way it looked, it seemed like CGI blood. There's a lot of CGI birds flying around. Like when the CGI kind of took me out of a couple of moments. I'm like, I didn't look that good. But it's just little quibbles, nothing that hurts the film. And they have such a huge family that a lot of these daughters really get like almost no screen time at all. They don't flesh out all the daughters. They are fine enough, like their bond with one another. It still feels like a real family you're watching, but we don't really get to dive into all these daughters. We know one of them's a sleepwalker. And then you got the one played by, I think, what's her face? Joey King, is that her name? She went on to do a lot of movies. Like, those two I remember, but the other, like, three, they don't really say or do much. So there's just, like, a lot of characters in here that you don't really get to focus on. Like, there's just so many daughters in this movie. It's like 5 kids. And I don't know why they needed to have 5 story-wise. They could have just had 2 or 3, and I think the movie still would have worked the same way. I'm not sure. I don't know. It's just such a big family, and therefore you don't really get enough time with these daughters. But it doesn't really, again, it doesn't hurt the film. So final thoughts, I think this is a terrific modern day haunted house possession movie that really just gets under your skin. Very good direction by James Wan, terrific performances, good cast. I love Patrick Wilson, Vera Farmiga, and even the actress who plays the mom in here. She's done a lot of horror, the Haunting, I think, yeah, Haunting, Leatherface. You got the guy from like Office Space or The Office. Is it Office Space, whatever? That comedy in the early 2000s. Just a good cast, great scares, not a lot of jump scares with that stupid music. It's just terrific across the board. So I gotta say, when it comes to The Conjuring, this is a modern day classic that started the franchise, started its own universe really, with all these different spin offs. It's just phenomenal. So go out and buy it. Alright, spoiler discussion. Let's talk some more Conjuring. So we get the whole opening with Annabelle, very eerie, creepy stuff here. And then this Annabelle doll would, of course, get 3 of her own movies now. Annabelle Comes Home, Annabelle Creation. We get a little bit of a trope here with the dog sensing evil. I've noticed this in a lot of supernatural movies where the dog, the family pet, is always the one that knows that something is off about the house. And the dog is the first one to go. He's dead the next day, Sadie. And then we get the whole hide and clap game, which seems like a very bad idea in a house that you just moved in, and there's a big old staircase that you can easily fall down. So the fact that they're like going upstairs and playing this hide and clap game blindfolded seems like a hazard to me. The mom does kind of point it out at first, but then she's partaking in the game later on, and she's upstairs, easily gonna fall down the staircase at any moment. I'm surprised it doesn't happen. And so then, she starts getting bruises all over her body, and we find out it's because she's slowly getting possessed by the spirit in the house. And then we see the toy monkey got the whole room of like possessed items from all their cases in their past. The Warrens, they got this whole room that we explore more of, and Annabelle Comes Home, and one of them is this monkey thing, and that's the same exact like monkey toy that they used in the movie The Devil's Gift in 1984, which had a similar thing going on in that movie, possession, and it's a cursed item. So the expression "quit pulling my leg" becomes literal here. She's on the bed and someone keeps pulling her leg, and she's like, "Stop it, sis!" And she never seems to realize that her sister is on the other side of the room. Like it's like she's right there. You would hear her run back to her bed. So I just thought that was a little weird. It's like, why? How could she possibly think her sister is doing this? How could she pull that off? And then all the birds are hitting the house. That's been done before, and just for some reason, birds, they hate haunted houses, so they kamikaze dive into them. And then the whole scene with like there's someone behind the door and there's just all that darkness in the corner, very eerie, just unsettling. You start to see things that aren't even there. You're like, what is in the corner? And then the door just slams shut. Very good sequence. And the Warrens have a false alarm case, which I love that they inserted that in here just to show you that they don't always have legit cases. We actually get to see them go to a house and find out that the spooky noises they hear at night is just like their bad pipes and shit. I like that. I like that they inserted that scene in here. The mom, she takes a tumble down the stairs and she even hits like a wooden beam on the way down, and then she kind of easily is able to get back up. I mean, she's stumbled like it at first. She seems like she's sore, but it seems like she recovers a little too quickly, if you ask me. She just gets right back up the stairs. I guess there's adrenaline going through her veins because she sees like a red ball fly towards her, very like Changeling, the red ball coming over like the bookshelf and rolling towards her. Very, again, spooky stuff there. Then the girl on top of like the closet, the big old wardrobe closet. What the hell is that? I think that's the woman who ends up possessing the mother, but that was another freaky scene. We see this flashback with this case they had many years ago where she had this vision, and we find out that the guy in that segment there is Frenchie. I think that's his name, Frenchie, the guy in the nun, and then we find out what that vision she had was in part 2. So that was pretty cool. They insert little things in here that they expand upon in later movies, which I think is pretty cool. And then the whole clown in the music box thing, that's another great scene. And I love how at the very end of the movie, the clown's coming up and you think something's going to happen, some big scare, but then it just goes black and nothing actually happened. So that was pretty cool. Apparently UV lights can expose demon and ghost footprints and handprints and shit. I did not know that. So then we get this really cool scare sequence where they're outside doing the laundry and the blanket gets blown off and it like goes over the ghost and then goes up towards the window. That was a pretty cool scene. Kind of reminded me of Paranormal Activity 3, the whole ghost thing, and then like the blanket falls down. There's quite a few things in here that were making me think Paranormal Activity. Yeah, that was kind of like in that one movie. You know, the hair pulling too. Like they're in the living room, all of a sudden her sister's hair is going up, and then they start like pulling her across the room, up the stairs and shit. Very Paranormal Activity 3 once again. And then Annabelle on the rocking chair at the Warrens' house. Like iconic image. I think that's like a image they use for like publicity and shit, like promoting the movie and stuff. Like that's a great image of like just the Annabelle doll on the rocking chair, head slowly turning. Really cool stuff. And then when they another thing I didn't talk about earlier that I like is they explain why they can't just leave, just like in Poltergeist 2, right? They're like, it's gonna go with you. You know, it doesn't matter where you go. It's attached to you. It's like gum on your shoe. It's going with you. But then they leave anyways, still, by the third act. They're just like, fuck it, we're going to a motel. But, you know, then, I don't know why they left. I guess maybe they felt like they were going to be a little bit safer anyways if they did so. But the cop, when they go back to the house and the whole exorcist stuff starts, why didn't the cop, like, handcuff her? Like, he had cuffs on her. It could have made it, I'm sure it would have been pointless because supernatural possession strength, she probably would have ripped it off anyways. She like takes a chunk out of his cheek when she bites him. Ugh. This movie could have been more rated R if they killed him. She could have taken a chunk out of his neck and killed him if she wanted to. But I was just thinking in the moment, like, wouldn't he like want to handcuff her while they do that possession, the exorcism shit, when she's in the chair. Great scene too, like it starts levitating, it like flips upside down, she's like flying around. So then we get this whole power of love ending where the power of love, I think, wins. I mean, it could have been the exorcism that worked, but I like to think it's the power of motherly love that wins the day here. When she starts to think about that day on the beach, and therefore she doesn't kill her child. But it could have been what Ed was saying. He was still like chanting and saying stuff in the Bible, Latin words, blah, blah, blah. It could have been what he said that helped her, but I feel like it's the memory that helps her break out of it. And she starts to puke the vile, demon out of her or whatever. So it was the power of love that won at the end, right? So yeah, I think that's about everything. I did think it was kind of funny, like when she looks at the picture earlier in the movie, and that's another cool scene where like all the pictures like fall down. That's a great scare because it's not a jump scare like with music or shit. It's just a loud crashing noise in the background that scares you. Good stuff. But when she touches the picture and she has like that, whatever vision, right? She's like, "Oh, that was a good day on the beach." And she's like, "How did you know?" It's like, "Because it's a day at the beach. It's a day at the beach. Why wouldn't it be good?" She was like blown away by her abilities, her power, her clairvoyancy, whatever. Like, how did you know that it was a good day at the beach? It's like, well, it's a family photo. You're all at the beach, a place where people go to be happy and have fun, and you're all smiling in the photo. So her saying it was a good day at the beach, I bet, shouldn't blow your mind. Any jackass could look at that photo and be like, that was a good day at the beach. Yeah, you're right, it was. I just couldn't help it. Anybody else? Did anybody else think that? Or am I just nitpicking here? When she said that, like, oh my gosh, how did you know? It's like, because it's a day at the beach. I just couldn't help but laugh. But yeah, that's the end of the movie. Love saves the day. And yeah, so great movie. What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments below what your favorite scene is. Is this your favorite Conjuring movie? Is it your favorite in the whole Conjuring universe? Let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.